We love both the flexibility of the curriculum and the content. The flexibility in that there's the one lesson a week that you mail out and you tell me exactly what to say and have the videos all put together, and then I can just go through it with the kids. There's not a lot of prep time involved, but I know that it's really quality content that's actually relevant to their lives. We actually already do get outside quite a bit. So for us, that wasn't as major of a thing, but it definitely would get us outside more if we weren't already. But I think it's making the kids outside time more, they're noticing more of their surroundings, and they're like, they'll look up at the clouds and just say, oh, look, I know that that's a cumulus cloud. So I think it's things that actually matter to them, so they're actually retaining it. And I just could not find a science curriculum that I liked, that I felt like it was both content rich and engaging for them, where they would actually learn and retain things that mattered before. And this is it.
Yay, thank you. This is great.
You know, I'm going to second pretty much everything Becky said. The only thing I would add is for my kids, it just has given them a great opportunity to just explore. So to learn through exploration, it's also given them some great opportunity to ask really good questions. And then to find either the answers or to draw different hypotheses from their own questions, and to keep them wanting to answer their own questions. I don't know if that makes sense. You know, and there's also a social aspect, since my girls are in the class, that they really enjoy interacting with kids that some of them they would come in contact with just through normal interaction, and others that they wouldn't. So they really like that aspect, as do I.
Nice.
The videos kind of get them engaged with the introduction stuff, and then just that we can go outside and reinforce what is learned in the videos. They've really kind of connected with that. And I think they really do. Like, my husband got me some lilies a couple months ago, and they had that lesson on the flower parts months ago, and they knew, like, oh, this is the stamen or the pistil, and like, this is where the pollen is, and they just connected with that. And I think, like, a bee will fly by and they'll say, oh, what kind of bee is that? And they'll ask us to see if we know, and then they're like, no, that's a worker bee.
Right, that's awesome. I love it.
Solitary bee, yeah. So I think that they really like the variety of different things, and that, like, we can go outside and actually experience it.
Becky's comments were great. The only thing I'll add is when I asked my kids what they liked the most, they said the animal interactions. So that's everything from insects, bugs, snakes, flowers, trees, shrubs. They love it all. They just love touching and being able to interact with the world around them in ways that are hands-on.
I think one big one for us is we love going on hikes, and like, we would just kind of hike before. And I've noticed when we go on hikes now that, like, the kids will see a tree and say, ooh, I can tell if this is a pine or a spruce or a fir. And it's like a hike isn't just a hike anymore. Like, we're really, as a family, kind of noticing things, and the kids, I think, feel ownership in it. They're not just the learners anymore, that they feel like they can teach my husband things. Like, when he's with us, they're like, oh, Dad, this is how you tell the difference. And that's been really neat to see that they really have a grasp on it enough to be excited and to teach their dad about it.
Right. Oh, that's great. I love it.
I agree with all that as well. The only thing I would add is kind of, again, going back to my question comment, I've watched them just ask really good questions, more than just a simple answer kind of question. And then I have an opportunity to ask another question back. And so I feel like we both get the opportunity to play the learning game with each other outside, because I'm learning just as much from them as they're learning from me, because I'm just asking questions the whole time, because I don't know any of the answers. And I love that we can kind of just play back and forth and say, well, what do you think about this? Or wonder what that does? Or And it gives them just good construct for asking. So
Yeah.
I think that being able to tell the difference between different kinds of trees,
Mhm.
and different kinds of bees, flower parts,
Mhm.
the ecosystem that they know like what a food chain and a food web are. And I think the boys kind of grasp the food web a little bit more because they're a little bit older.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all great points again, Becky. I think the only other thing I'll add is it's more of the construct. So it's like what I would call like the scientific approach to what they're doing. So being able to analyze things in the context of some kind of structure. So rather than just throwing a bunch of information together, how can I use that information to formulate different ways of thinking?
Yeah,
So
that's
I love your sheets, Jenny, that you send out every week so they can journal. I think nature journaling for me has been one of the most enjoyable things to do with my kids because I learn a ton. But it
Absolutely.
helps me kind of structure what we're learning versus just randomly throwing stuff, because I don't remember things well unless it's somewhat structured in my brain. So I think those things are simple enough. And Becky hit on the videos, which I think are great too. Those are great tools for the kids to reinforce things.
I think like we were just talking about their worldview kind of and the way that they look at how facts are structured and that they can observe or learn something and then fit that into the framework of their lives, and see that it's actually relevant instead of just memorizing things. That I think that the way that they're learning to think about science in the curriculum that you have is something that goes beyond just the facts that they're learning.
Yeah, I think what Becky said is pretty much what I would have said. Yeah, the only thing I would add is again, I think it's kind of fostered a really good and healthy way for my kids to explore in their own ways. I have a child who's very hands-on, likes to touch, likes to feel. I have another who likes to observe and then do that, then do those things. And it's given them a really good venue to kind of gravitate to not only how they learn and the best ways for them to do that, but also to empower themselves to be able to set themselves up to learn in those environments well. So how that translates to the future is, in the workplace, you're not always given opportunities to learn certain things the way you like to learn them. And I think nature study really does a good job of equipping kids because there's not really a lot of structure, but there is. It's kind of the best of all of the worlds.
Yeah, and like Felisa was just saying, I love that because like different learning styles, but also different ages. That I don't have time to do like 4 different curricula for each subject for my kids. And I love that this is something that we can all do together and that you have the same lesson broken into different age groups so that the kids can kind of grasp it at the level where they're at, and that we can all do it together and they can all get something out of it at their own pace and their own level of understanding. And I think that they are just paying attention to nature more, and they've always loved being outside, but they're paying attention to things around them, and like, oh, this is what the bird eats, and then this is what that worm might eat, and things like that, that they're really more observant and more, I think, feeling like they're a part of nature instead of just like, oh, we're outside versus inside.
Honestly, Jenny, I don't have anything to add. I feel like Becky has got like the perfect interview happening here. So
No, I think
really, I mean,
follow up very, very well.
yeah, no, unquestionably, my kids have really taken to this class. And I love the fact that when they are outside, that they're asking those questions, even if they're not bringing them up to me or somebody else. that their minds are bent towards, I wonder if, I wonder what. And I just love that, because that is such a good skill to have lifelong, to ask questions. And I really, this class has given them almost the gift of that. And I appreciate it.